Hello everyone and welcome in today's video. I am Sohini Viswas, a third year law student, and currently I am doing an internship at the Lexis and Company. Today I'll be talking on the topic of criminal defamation laws in India. So let us begin by understanding what is defamation. Defamation is an all-encompassing term that covers any intentional false communication, either written or spoken, that harms a person's reputation, decreases the respect, regard, or confidence in which a person is held, or induces disparaging, hostile, or disagreeable opinions or feelings against a person, entity, group, government, etc. Written defamation is called as libel, while spoken defamation is called as slander. Libel and slander, both forms of defamation, derive its origin from English common law, but which they are not treated as distinct from each other in the Indian jurisprudence. History of defamation law in India. Now let us understand what is the history of defamation law. Defamation law in India were conceived by Lord Macaulay in 1837 in his first draft of the IPC and subsequently codified in 1860. The offence of defamation was along the same lines of prevailing English law. The intention behind criminalizing the act of defamation in British India was certainly linked with protecting the interest of the British Raj, the security of the state and public order. Consequently, the section 499 of the IPC 1860 was enacted and has remained unaltered for the last 158 years. In July 1988, Rajiv Gandhi's administration, injured by allegation of the Bofo affairs, introduced a defamation bill which sought to create new offences of criminal imputation and scurrilous lighting. The bill widened the definition of the term defamation and shifted the burden of proof from the aggrieved to the accused. The Lok Sabha has passed the bill and the bill was to be introduced in the Rajya Sabha thereafter. A highly successful nationwide strike by the newspaper industry and increasing strident popular protest forced the government to withdraw the bill. The press release withdrawing the bill stated, "A free press is an integral part of the inner strength and dynamism of our democracy. Without a free press, there can be no democracy. The imperishable values of our freedom struggle have gone into making of the press in India. We uphold this legacy." Now, what is defamation in India in its present form? Defamation in India is both a civil as well as criminal offence. The defamed is offered a remedy both in civil law for damages and in criminal law and section 500 of the IPC for the punishment in respect of the said offence. Civil defamation is not codified under a specific legislation. Section 499 states, Whoever by work, either spoken or intended to be read, or by signs or by visible representation, makes or publishes any imputation concerning any person intending to harm or knowing or having reason to believe that such imputation will harm the reputation of such person is said, except in the case thereinafter, accepted to defame that person. The section further goes on to provide explanation to determine what would constitute defamation. Defamation under the IPC may constitute an imputation of a deceased person that would harm the reputation of the person if living and is intended to be hurtful to the feelings of his family or other near and dear relatives. It may also amount to defamation to make an imputation concerning a company or an association or collection of persons as such. The section, however, does state that no imputation is said to harm a person's reputation unless that imputation directly or indirectly in the intimation of other lowers the moral or intellectual character of that person and or his calling, or lowers the credit of that person, or causes it to be believed that the body of that person is in a state or is generally considered as disgraceful. The section sets forth 10 exceptions to defamation as well, wherein the first exception states that the absolute truth in the exception to defamation, if it is for the public good. Section 500 of the IPC sets forth the punishment of defamation as simple imprisonment for a term which may extend to 2 years or with a fine or both. What is the analysis of the Supreme Court of India on defamation law? Criminal defamation, a British relic in India, has been in the news recently for multiple reasons. Questions have been raised on whether defamation should be treated as a civil wrong or a criminal offence or both. The IPC had listed defamation as a criminal offence, making it punishable by fine and imprisonment and even by both. For many, criminalizing defamation, it is unwarranted restriction on free speech, where the global norm is that a civil suit for damages is sufficient for protecting the reputation. However, the Supreme Court of India had recently in 2016 upheld the criminal defamation and its constitutional validity. The judgment delivered on May 13, 2016 by Supreme Court in Subramaniam Swamy versus the Union of India was delivered by Justice Deepak Mishra, with whom Justice Prafulla C. Pant agreed. In 2015, Subramaniam Swamy, along with several other petitioners, had included well-known politicians like Rahul Gandhi, Arvind Kejriwal, Jayalalitha and others came together to challenge the constitutionality of criminal defamation before the Supreme Court. Their argument was that these colonial-era criminal defamation provisions were unreasonable restrictions on the constitutional guarantee right to freedom of speech and expression and have a chilling effect on the right to freedom of speech and expression. The judgment begins by analyzing the meaning of the terms defamation and reputation and the interaction of these terms with right of freedom of speech and expression. The Supreme Court held that reputation of an individual was included in the protection of dignity, which was a part of constitutionality protected by right to life. Secondly, the right of freedom of speech and expression in a democracy, but pointed out that it is a subject to reasonable restrictions. The judgment recognizes that the principles as regards reasonable restrictions are that restriction which should serve the public interest and should not be excessive. Thirdly, once we have held that reputation of an individual is a basic element of Article 21 of the Constitution and balancing of fundamental right is a constitutional necessity, and further the legislature in its wisdom has kept that penal provision alive, it is extremely difficult to subscribe to the view that criminal defamation has a chilling effect on freedom of speech. Examining the explanations included in the penal provision on defamation, the Supreme Court concludes these are neither vague nor ambiguous. The Supreme Court noted that an imputation can only be treated as defamatory if it has been made with the intention of causing harm or having reason to believe that such imputation will harm the reputation of the person about whom it is made. The Supreme Court also took a note that an imputation can only be treated as defamatory if it is directly or indirectly, in the estimation of others, lowers a person's character or his credit. The Supreme Court additionally held that truth is a defense only when a statement also serves the public good, but states that it is truthful statement is not made for any kind of public good but only to malign a person, and this should not be constitutionally protected. Finally, the Supreme Court holds that the penal code provision is not disproportionate. The reasonableness and proportionality of a restriction is examined from the standpoint of interest of general public and not from the point of view of a person upon whom the restrictions are imposed. Applying the standards, the court judged the criminal defamation laws to be proportionate. The Supreme Court dismissed the challenges of constitutionality of the criminal offence of defamation, holding that it was reasonable restriction on the right to freedom of speech. Now, what can be concluded from this? While the right to reputation may be protected by Constitution of India, it should not be at the cost of freedom of speech. Free speech is necessary because, among other things, it enables the media to hold government entities, political parties, and individuals accountable. There has always been a delicate balance between one's right of freedom of speech and another's right to protect their good name. That's all for today's video. Thank you.